Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel and to another YouTube video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a little bit of a simpler way to draw out the brachial plexus when we're trying to learn it. Now, in the body, there's going to be multiple different ways that nerves contribute to different plexi within the body. However, four kind of, compartments that I've learned throughout the body that kind of help group up these nerves together. We have the cervical plexus, which usually constitutes about C1 to C4 nerve roots. The brachial plexus, which is usually C5 to T1. Then we have the lumbar plexus, which is L1 to L4, although it does have contribution from the T12 nerve, which is usually right around the iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal region. And then we also have the sacral plexus, which is the S1 to S4 nerves. Now, all these nerves have some form of sensory and motor innervation to different limbs and muscles within our body. And they also do get, some help from other nerve groups, right? But these are just four general kind of compartments that I've learned that kind of help put them all kind of together in one big picture so that you're able to learn it a little bit better. In today's video, though, we're going to be going over a simpler way to draw out the brachial plexus so that you're more prepared when you're trying to learn it. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so as promised, we're going to be going over the brachial plexus here. So I already have it drawn out, but I want to go over exactly what I went into just to kind of help teach it a little bit and to just kind of help us memorize it. So if we look at it, right, we have 5 roots. So our brachial plexus composes of the nerve roots C5 to T1. So we have cranial nerve 5, 6, 7, 8, and then T1. Our long thoracic nerve is going to run vertically straight down here as on the drawing, and it's going to be innervating our serratus anterior at C5 to 7. If we want to look at the origination of the brachial plexus, we have to remember where it's coming out of, right? So we have our heart, which is going to go up into which we're going to have our brachiocephalic trunk that's going to stem off the aorta. It's actually going to go all the way up, and then it's going to divide into the common carotid. And then what we're going to have is we're actually going to have branches that come off of all that. So right underneath, between our clavicle and our first rib, we actually have the subclavian artery that kind of branches off there. And our subclavian artery is actually going to branch off into the axillary artery. So if we want to think about it, the subclavian is right next to the subclavius muscle, which sits just inferior to the collarbone, right? It helps with some respiration. Our brachial plexus is actually going to be coming out of the middle and the anterior scalene. It's going to pierce through and travel right alongside the axillary artery. The axillary artery is right off of the subclavian, so it's kind of just a way of remembering the location. The axilla is like your armpit. So if we continue on through here, we have cranial nerve C5 through C6, which gets some contribution from the phrenic nerve, which is responsible for helping us with our diaphragm, right? If you want to remember this way, C3 through C5 helps keep the diaphragm alive. That's our phrenic nerve. We're going to get some contribution from the phrenic nerve here. We're also going to have, this is going to be the starting point to our dorsal scapular nerve, which is going to help with some of the motor and sensory innervations to the rhomboid and the levator scapula, right? Continuing on here, we have 3 trunks. We have a superior, a middle, and an inferior trunk. These are going to give rise to our supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles with our subscapular nerve root. So our supraspinatus and infraspinatus is attached right on the scapula. So the supraspinatus is right in between the scapular spine, the superior border of the scapula. And the infraspinatus is going to sit right in the infraspinous fossa, right just below the scapular spine. And that's going to be cranial nerve root C5 to C6. And our subclavius, like I mentioned before, the subclavius is a muscle that sits right underneath the collarbone, right? It's going to help us with some of our exhalation and inhalation with our rib cage. Next up, we have 6 divisions. We have our anterior, posterior divisions, right? These divisions are what going to help give rise to some motor and some sensory innervation to, if we have the anterior division, it's going to give rise some innervation to the anterior compartment of our arm, right? Think about your biceps, your brachialis, all that kind of stuff. The posterior is going to be more of the muscles that help with extension. Anterior, a little bit more flexion. Just a generalized way of viewing it, right? So we have 6 divisions. So each time that these come towards the middle trunk, they're going to go into a posterior division. And if they're just going to coast alongside the outside, it's going to be an anterior division. Next up, we have 3 chords. So remember how I mentioned the axillary artery first? We have a lateral chord, we have a posterior chord, and we have a medial chord. So our lateral chord, let's say this is our axillary artery here, right? This is our axillary artery, which is actually going to stem off of, my apologies. We have our axillary artery, right, which is going to be stemming off the subclavius, or the subclavian artery, right? Going outside to this, we're going to have our lateral chord. Posterior, which is going to be kind of more back here. You can't really draw it too well on a 2-dimensional space, right? But posterior to this is going to be our posterior chord, and then medial to this right here is going to be our medial chord. So with our lateral chord, as we see here, we give branches to the lateral pectoral nerve, which is going to be sitting right, like, I would say, I think the lateral pectoral nerve is a little bit higher up on where like our pecs are. Then we have the posterior chord, which is going to be responsible for giving innervation to our the subscapular nerve, the thoracodorsal and axillary nerve. So we can look at the subscapularis and the teres major, right? So more of these like our scapular muscles. Teres major sitting just inferior to our teres minor, right? And then we have the subscapularis, which is going to sit on the anterior surface of the scapula. So these are going to be nerve roots C5 to C6. The thoracodorsal is going to be our latissimus dorsi nerve, right? And then we have the axillary nerve. Then we have the medial chord, which is right here, right? So say this right here is going to be the axillary artery. We have the medial chord right here. That's going to give rise to the medial and antebrachium, which is our forearm, or the medial cutaneous arm portion with nerve roots C8 to T1 alongside our medial pectoral. Now, the way to kind of remember the branches here, so we have 5 terminal branches stemming off of the 3 chords. We have a musculocutaneous, we have an axillary, a radial, a median, and an ulnar nerve. The acronym or the mnemonic for this is MARMU, the way I've remembered it. So the musculocutaneous comes off of the C5 through C7, right? So we can make this branch go out this way. The axillary nerve, the branch comes right off of the posterior chord. We have the radial, which comes off the posterior. The median, which gets contributions from both the lateral and the medial chord. And then we have the ulnar, which comes off the medial chord. So if anybody has any questions, comment them down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. I'm always trying to learn this as I'm going through school, but this is the way I kind of remembered how to draw out the brachial plexus. Again, if anybody has any questions, leave them down below. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you guys want to do, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Here's to getting strong. Thanks for watching.